Our first date went great until she mentioned her 2 kids. I'm a single dad. The coffee shop hummed with the gentle murmur of afternoon conversations. But all I could hear was my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. Sarah stood before me in that stunning red dress, her smile radiant, completely unaware that she was about to change everything. "So Marcus," she said, settling into the chair across from me, "I have to be honest about something." I straightened up, trying to read her expression. We'd been messaging for 3 weeks and every conversation had felt effortless. She was intelligent, funny, and shared my love for old jazz records and terrible puns. Finally, meeting in person had exceeded every expectation until now. "I have 2 kids," she said, her eyes searching mine. "Emma is 7 and Jake just turned 5. The words hung in the air between us. I watched her fingers fidget with her coffee cup, a nervous habit I'd already grown fond of. She was waiting for me to run, I realized. Waiting for the disappointment, the awkward excuse, the quick exit that she'd probably experienced before. But she didn't know my secret yet. "That's actually something I need to tell you about too," I said slowly. Her eyebrows raised slightly. "You have kids?" "One, Lily, she's 6. The tension in Sarah's shoulders melted instantly, replaced by a laugh that sounded like relief and disbelief mixed together. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Her mom left when she was 2. It's been just the 2 of us ever since." Sarah leaned back in her chair, shaking her head with a smile. "I didn't mention them in my profile because, well, you know how it is. Some guys bolt the second they hear single mom. Same reason I didn't mention Lily. I've had women literally stand up and leave mid-conversation. We shared a moment of understanding that felt more intimate than any first date small talk. We were both warriors in the same battle, both carrying the beautiful burden of parenthood alone." "So," Sarah said, her smile turning playful, "how did a single dad end up on a dating app at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday?" I laughed, remembering. Lily had a nightmare, and after I got her back to sleep, I couldn't drift off myself. Emma had the flu. I was sitting on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m. and I just thought, there has to be more to life than this, right? "There absolutely does," I said, meaning it. The next 2 hours evaporated. We talked about the impossible, logistics of single parenthood, the guilt of leaving kids with sitters for a date, the exhaustion of being both parents at once, the fierce love that made it all worthwhile. We compared notes on temper tantrums and bedtime negotiations. She told me about Jake's obsession with dinosaurs. I told her about Lily's dream of becoming an astronaut veterinarian. "What does Lily know about you dating?" Sarah asked as we ordered our 3rd round of coffee. "Not much yet. I've been really careful. I don't want to introduce someone into her life unless I'm sure they're going to stick around." I paused. "What about Emma and Jake?" "Same. They've been through enough upheaval. Their dad," she trailed off, and I saw a flash of old pain in her eyes. "Let's just say he's not in the picture by his own choice." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off, honestly. It's just, it gets lonely sometimes, you know." I did know. The late nights after Lily fell asleep, the weekends at the park watching other families, the constant weight of being everything to someone who depended entirely on you, the loneliness of single. Parenthood was a particular kind of isolation that only others in the same situation could truly understand. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said, her voice tentative. "Anything. Do you think we're crazy for trying this? I mean, between the 2 of us, we have 3 kids. That's basically an instant Brady Bunch situation if things ever got serious." The question made my heart skip. She was thinking long-term just like I was. Already after just one afternoon, I could feel myself falling for this woman who understood my life in a way no one else could. "I think," I said carefully, "that crazy might be exactly what we both need. Safe hasn't gotten us very far, has it?" She laughed. "Fair point, though I should warn you. Jake is in a phase where he only eats foods that are orange. Emma is convinced she's a cat and meows instead of talking sometimes. And I haven't had a full night's sleep in 7 years. Lily insists on wearing her tutu to the grocery store. Has convinced her entire 1st grade class that I'm secretly a superhero. And once ate an entire pack of crayons because she wanted to see if her poop would turn rainbow-colored. Did it work? You'll have to ask her yourself someday. The words came out before I could stop them, heavy with implication. Sarah's eyes widened slightly, then softened. I'd like that, she said quietly. The coffee shop was beginning to empty as evening approached. We'd been there for hours, so engrossed in conversation that the world beyond our table had ceased to exist. I should probably get going, Sarah said, though she made no move to stand. My mom has the kids, but I don't want to take advantage. Yeah, Lily's with my neighbor. Mrs. Chen is wonderful, but she's 75 and Lily can be energetic. We both stood, suddenly awkward now that the moment of parting had arrived. In the bubble of the coffee shop, everything had felt possible. But outside, reality waited. Babysitters to relieve, dinner to make, bath time and homework and bedtime stories. Can I walk you to your car? I asked. I'd like that. Outside, the February air was crisp but not unpleasant. Sarah's car was parked just down the block. We walked slowly, neither of us ready for this to end. So, she said as we reached her silver Honda. What happens now? It was the question I'd been asking myself. In my pre-Lily life, this would have been simple. Ask for a second date, maybe steal a kiss, make plans for next weekend. But nothing was simple anymore. I want to see you again, I said. But I also want to do this right. For the kids. Agreed, we should take this slow. Very slow. Glacially slow. We smiled at each other, both knowing that slow was probably impossible now that we'd found this connection. How about next Saturday? Sarah suggested. There's a jazz brunch at the community center. Very public, very casual. And we can both bring the kids if we want or not. No pressure either way. The kids might actually be a good buffer. Less intense than another date alone. You're suggesting our second date be a play date? Is that weird? Sarah considered this, then shook her head. Actually, it's kind of perfect. If they all get along, that's huge. If they don't, well, better to know sooner rather than later, right? Practical and romantic. I like it. She pulled out her phone. Give me your number. The real one this time, not the dating app message system, as I typed in my digits. Sarah said, fair warning. I'm an emoji overuser and I send rambling voice memos at inappropriate hours. I screenshot funny conversations to show people later, and I sometimes respond to texts with just a thumbs up when I don't know what to say. We're a disaster waiting to happen, aren't we? Probably. But at least we'll be a disaster with very good coffee and 3 tiny humans who will keep us too busy to overthink everything. Sarah's phone buzzed with my test text. She saved my contact information, then looked up at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Can I tell you something that might be too honest for a first date? She asked. Please do. I'm terrified. I haven't done this in so long. And adding kids to the mix makes everything so much more complicated. But sitting with you today, talking to someone who actually gets it, that was the first time in years I felt like myself. Not just Mom, but Sarah. And I forgot how much I missed her. Her vulnerability hit me square in the chest. I took a step closer. I'm terrified too, I admitted. Lily is my whole world, and the idea of introducing someone new into her life and possibly having to explain another loss if things don't work out, it keeps me up at night. But I also don't want to teach her that love isn't worth the risk. And honestly, sitting with you today reminded me that I'm not just a dad. I'm Marcus too, and he's been lonely for a long time. Sarah reached out and squeezed my hand. It was the first time we'd touched beyond the initial handshake, and the simple contact sent warmth through my entire body. So we try, she said. Carefully, slowly, with lots of communication and probably some spectacular co-parenting fails along the way. We try, I agreed. Together. She held my gaze for a long moment, then stood on her tiptoes and kissed my cheek. Saturday, then. Prepare yourself for Jake's dinosaur facts. He knows approximately 1 million of them. Lily will counter with space facts. It's going to be the nerdiest playdate in history. I can't wait, Sarah said, and I could tell she meant it. I watched her drive away, my cheek still tingling from her kiss. My phone already in my hand to text Mrs. Chen that I was on my way. As I walked to my own car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. This wasn't going to be easy. Blending a family never was. There would be challenges, conflicts, moments when the complications of 3 kids and 2 healing hearts seemed insurmountable. But Sarah understood my world in a way no one else could. She knew the weight I carried because she carried the same one. Maybe that was enough of a foundation to build something real. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Just told my mom about you. She says any man who raises a tutu-wearing crayon eater sounds perfect. No pressure. I laughed out loud in the parking lot. Typing back, Mrs. Chen wants to know if you can cook. I told her that wasn't the important part. She disagrees. The response was immediate. Plot twist, I'm an amazing cook. Jake just prefers orange foods out of principle, not necessity. As I drove home to relieve Mrs. Chen and hear about Lily's afternoon adventures, I thought about the journey ahead. Not just for Sarah and me, but for our 3 kids who had no idea their worlds were about to expand. Saturday would be the real test. Jazz music, breakfast food, and 5 people trying to figure out if they could become something more than the sum of their parts. It was terrifying and exciting and completely unpredictable, just like the best love stories always are. And somewhere between then and now, I had to figure out how to explain to a 6-year-old that Daddy had met someone special, without making promises I couldn't keep or raising hopes that might be crushed. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight I would read bedtime stories and tuck in my daughter, and count myself lucky that even in the chaos of single parenthood, there was still room for possibility, still room for Sarah, still room for hope.